Hello, my name is Apollinaria. I am a professional spiritual guide and facilitator, and today I want to talk to you about peaceful non-attachment, which if you've been on the spiritual path for some time, you've almost certainly run into that term at some point or another, especially if you're into meditation or any kind of Buddhist practices at all. Peaceful non-attachment refers to a pretty specific state, but like generally in culture, it's kind of used in inner work culture. It's kind of used as like this vague goal or aspiration. So today I want to actually dig into what it is. I am wanting to explore both what it actually is and also how you can experience it in a sustained way, right? So peaceful non-attachment is a state of being that is free of any anxious, demanding, or desire to control any kind of outcome, right? It is a peaceful state of experiencing the good things, the bad things, the beautiful things, the awful things, everything that life gives you. And just watching it come and watching it go and existing in a peaceful flow of impermanence, right? So this sort of peaceful flow is something that I would argue is just as much where we're coming from as much as it is where we're going in our spiritual maturing process, right? I think it is kind of our most natural state that we are born with, and then trauma and things happen, and then after a long journey of healing and work and spiritual maturing, it is a state that we return to. So if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell's work, it is much like the hero's journey. So as I said, I do think that all animals and babies and things come into this life in this interconnected flow of peaceful non-attachment, just flowing into and moving with the world. Then human beings get traumatized, and unlike animals that just shake it out of their system and keep moving, we just hold on to that. We just hold on to that for dear life and we just don't let it go. And we just stay anxious and we just keep trauma stored in our bodies, and we develop all of these stories and identities and perspectives of life based on these anxieties. And we demand life meet a certain amount of conditions for us to feel safe, because we are in this inherent embodied state of unsafety. And we lose our capacity to meet everything that life gives us, everything that life throws at us, from a peaceful, non-attached, but also empowered and flowing and present center. And I think that the way of returning home to that peaceful, flowing, empowered, interconnected center is twofold, right? So on one hand, there is just a need to clear the trauma out of our systems, to clear all these anxieties and these experiences out of our systems. I have plenty of videos on this channel dedicated to that, including trauma healing as a lifestyle. I'll link that now over here. But what I'm more interested in talking about in this video is the more spiritually mature processes that are also the prerequisite for peaceful non-attachment. These spiritually maturing processes and experiences which manifest and integrate as a state of peaceful non-attachment. So I want to first talk about what peaceful non-attachment is, what peaceful non-attachment isn't, and really kind of get the definition in a little bit more. And then I want to talk about the experiences that ultimately lead you to, again, breaking through and coming home to that state within yourself. So peaceful non-attachment is not numbing. It is not a desaturation of your experience. The opposite, actually. Peaceful non-attachment is a allowing of everything, of again, the greatest joys and the deepest, most breaking, soul-shaking griefs, and of both pain and love, which stretch your very capacity for experience themselves, you know. Peaceful non-attachment is just simply an allowing and inherently an accepting of everything that comes your way, right? That being said, peaceful non-attachment is a humbling of yourself and an accepting of all the experiences that come your way, but it is not a relinquishing of your will or your participation in reality and the shaping and the co-creating of reality, right? It is, and the responsibility of co-creating that reality, right? It is simply participating in reality and being humbled to what does and doesn't come in response to your participation back your way, and just a growing, you know, from whatever happens, and a responding to whatever does and doesn't happen, and a inherent like humbling to that, to what the world gives you. Peaceful non-attachment is like it's an acceptance of all of life's emotions and experiences as simply material to grow through, to meet, to digest, to experience and be changed by. It is a state that kind of depersonalizes most things, and the things that do feel personal like feel just sort of frank, and just like, again, material to process. It's inherently a very de-victimized state. It is a state of simply moving with what comes your way and accepting it as what life is giving you to move with and work with. It's like, it's a sort of calm empowerment, you know? Nothing is wrong. This is just what life is. And this is what life is right now, right here. And this is what I'm moving with right now, right here, you know? All right, so how do we access this wonderful, delicious, fun state of peaceful non-attachment and empowered and centered flowing with the world? I would argue that it is actually a process of, I want to say, spiritually maturing beyond the ego. And I will need to make the distinction that I am not saying transcending or moving on from or evolving beyond, like, past the ego. The ego is not bad or good. The ego is just a part of your psyche that is either well-adjusted or it is dysfunctional to some degree. It is, so long as you are a human being that is functioning in a human society, you will always have an ego as like just simply a part of your psychological infrastructure, right? So I'm not saying transcend outside of the ego. When I'm saying spiritually maturing beyond the ego, I'm trying to express like accessing a state of consciousness which includes, but it is not limited to, the ego, right? And like, what do I mean by that? Basically, I'm going to explain it as like two different processes that need to happen that I think are kind of two sides of the same whole, right? I think on one hand, you need to have an emotional sort of like breaking open experience, which opens you up to an emotional, an experiential field, which is larger than yourself. And also, the other half of the equation is becoming truly connected with forces that are larger than you, right? Let me go into it. So the emotional breaking open part, I think it can happen in two ways. For your emotion, for your heart to break open beyond its standard capacity is itself like a type of ego death, like a version of you and your emotional like band of existence, wavelength of existence, breaks, dies, and like a whole new one is reset and regrown in its place. So I think that the two ways of accessing that are either through tremendous grief, tremendous pain, which kind of kills, like, again, it's a type of ego death. It kills you. Like, it's so impersonal. Life is so devastating and in such an impersonal way that it almost like, it crushes you, it breaks your heart open, and like there's this vastness, there's this spaciousness that's left, there's this like empathy that's left in its wake, there's this like softening, there's this like kindness actually that's left in its wake. On the other hand, I think love could also do the trick. You could like have a heartbreaking, open, expanding love for or from like your child or your partner or your family, your friend or whatever. But some kind of love is so intense that it like literally breaks you open to a field of love and connection that is just inherently beyond your personal self-interests in yourself. Like, you are deeply interconnected. In either of these versions, your sense of empathy, like, just deepens, like your interconnection to other, to like the field of emotion around you deepens and matures. It just becomes larger than yourself. But it is like a sort of breaking open process. It is a cracking open process, like an egg, right? And the other aspect of this is going to be actively connecting with forces that are larger than yourself. And this is something that, like, once your heart breaks open, can happen very organically. Like, maybe you know, just inherently feel more connected to nature or to the people around you or whatever. So you sense yourself as a smaller part of a larger whole. Or it could be something a little bit more directed, like communion with certain cosmic or divine forces or energies or whatever it is, right? Systems of being, whatever it is. But regardless, you have this like real understanding that you are a smaller part of a larger whole, right? So there's both like this understanding and this like understood connection and this like felt emotional empathetic connection. Both sides of those parts of yourself, the emotional and like the logical, the cognitive, whatever, just expand beyond you, beyond your ego. You become like, you and your ego and yourself become just like kind of cogs in a larger machine. You know, you become functional parts of a much larger whole. And there is like inherently like, that's where the peaceful non-attachment comes in. That's where like the sort of the humility that is peaceful non-attachment comes in. Like, all of this stuff is bigger than you. And like, you are a absolutely necessary and fundamental part of the whole. Like, your participation matters for real. And, you know, you're just kind of flowing in this interconnected stream of many other things happening. You are just this like specific space where these actions and these energies meet and coalesce and move through you. You know? And like, that's all a cool idea, right? Maybe you hear that and you're like, oh yeah, I get it. But again, actually having these spiritual experiences gives you the not just the cognitive understanding, the full embodied, aligned state of just like knowing this and experiencing life through this knowing, right? So that, you know, again, plus like, I think that before you're gonna have those experiences, most likely you're probably gonna like release a good amount of trauma that would congest you from even getting to this point. Like, if you are not having some sort of relationship with your trauma where you're releasing it, you probably don't have the capacity to like let your heart break open to the degree that it would need to, you know? Like, your body just doesn't feel safe to do it. And honestly, if you haven't cleared your trauma, if you haven't like cleared a good amount of your trauma or just like made some headway on it, you probably don't feel safe to connect to a larger world. So there is you know, so that out of the way, these experiences come after. And yeah, that's what I would argue is the whole picture of actually attaining a sustained state of peaceful non-attachment. You know, it's not necessarily a pretty process, although it is certainly in many ways a very beautiful and meaningful and deep one. It is a process that I highly recommend. You know, life honestly gets a lot less complicated. It's a you know, peaceful non-attachment. It's a very peaceful state to exist within. It's not just a peaceful state to exist within, it's also the most effective and efficient state to exist within. Like, if you just accept what is coming your way and you just deal with it, you just work with it, rather than, like, you know, whining and moaning and like expending all your energy fighting against it in some way, you're going to move through life much more efficiently and effectively. And life is, I don't know, both more fun, more peaceful, again, easier, honestly. And like, this life ain't easy, period, no matter who you are. If you're on this planet, like, this life ain't easy, so hey, why don't we make it a little easier on ourselves if we can? So I think that's like a proper general introduction to peaceful non-attachment. If it's a concept that interests you, I guess, honestly, maybe like the biggest thing that I would hope for you to take away is to either aim for or understand that it is safe to aim for feeling safe in this world. Like, truly. It is an act of spiritual growth and maturing to create and cultivate a true connection of feeling safe in this world. And also, it's an act of spiritual maturing to let yourself break open. You know, if you're really, like, if any part of you, when you meet your experiential edge of incredible heartbreak or incredible, like, heart expansion and love expansion, if any part of you closes down because it doesn't feel safe, consider this an invitation to lean in and to let yourself break open, because it's kind of the meat of this human experience right there, is in that breaking open. It's not an end, it's a beginning kind of space. So that is my proper introduction to peaceful non-attachment. Hopefully it serves you. If the video resonates with you, do feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. And I'll catch you next time. Mwah. Bye-bye.